Didn't say too, you know, everybody. With landfill. 90%.
Oh, yeah, good. Sorry to recognize you in your blue ride earlier. That's okay. Hell's that?
Turn Yeah.
Move this to the.
Yeah, that needs to go to the community center.
Is it? That lift up tomorrow. The invoice for $27,000.
The what?
Invoice for $27,000. Of the Carbon County Impact Powers Board.
What were you reading?
What project was it? It was the last 4 pages. Is where all the invoices are. It's invoice, but it doesn't say what it is. It's got a. $27,989. That's the end. The invoice above it says 27,000. Just wondering what it is.
I got 20.
25, 27.
Oh.
That in the lift station, is it?
No, it has something to do with, that's for the tank demo. It's in there.
Oh,
That was, leave some of their retaining.
no, that's the $2,400 retainage.
Yeah, that's for the engineering on it.
The $30,000 invoice is.
There's an explanation in there. I looked at it. It was from Engineering Associates, right? Look at page 34, and it starts to break down all that engineering cost.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I mean, they had a little bit of lift station on it. They had a few things that Henry had them do. Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Everyone, please join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Davis,
Here.
Councilman Cooley,
Here.
Solomon Beck. Here. Councilman Jerry Flutie,
Here.
Councilman Jacob Flutie.
Here.
Okay, looking at the agenda, I have one change. Look at the agenda, item number 13. The MOU with the Platte Valley Community Center. It actually needs to be put under the Community Center Joint Powers Board. Anybody else have any additions to the agenda? I have a motion to approve the agenda as read.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, we'll move on to the approval of last month's minutes. Our last council meeting minutes. Is there any discussion, changes that anybody would like to see? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting?
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Okay, we'll move on to approval of the bills. Deposits in the amount of $223,062.36. Accounts payable in the amount of $56,492.89. Payroll in the amount of $37,706.57. And transmittals in the amount of $33,546.02. Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the financials as read?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll move on to correspondence. Any correspondence? Okay. Any items from the public? Anybody would like to come up before the council? Seeing none, we'll move on to council comments. Okay, we'll move on to reports from departments and town hall, and we'll start off with Mountain West Technologies. Can you hear us?
Hi there. Yes, thank you. My
Okay.
name is Leisha Thorvaldson. I'm the Chief of Operations for Mountain West Technologies. Thank you for letting me join your meeting. I just wanted to join and thank the council for a letter of support for our project application with the Connect Wyoming program. We are still waiting to hear on those projects on who will be awarded. And we also have a project going just to the north of town where we're planning to bring fiber over from Walcott Junction. So our crews will be mobilizing in the area soon. We have a subcontractor that has been starting the project just this past week. And so I just wanted to come and bring some information about those two things in progress or about to be in progress, and be available to answer any questions you may have.
Well, thank you. Does the council have any questions?
I don't have any.
Nope. I have a couple, now, when you get the fiber optic to Saratoga, are you gonna come before the council and enter into a franchise agreement? Is that your
Yes,
proposed
sir.
ideas?
Yes, sir. That would be our proposed idea.
Okay. And any idea when that may happen?
Well, we could make that happen about any time. I just have to draft an agreement. Do you want to see that proposed agreement before I attend a meeting, so you have a moment to review it and revise it if necessary? And then it has to go through 3 readings for approval. Is that correct?
Correct. What we usually do is something on that line, we would have it sent down for our review. And we'd send it off to our attorney for her
Mhm.
review. And then we would
Okay.
meet back with if there was changes to be made, we'd send them back with the attorney's recommendation. If not, we would then entertain sitting down with you guys and
Okay.
going through it.
What is your city attorney's name, please?
Pardon?
The city attorney.
Kylie Waldrop. Out of Rollins.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. I can make that happen probably within the next month and potentially plan on attending the next October meeting or the one in November, depending on how the reviews all go and everything.
Okay.
Okay.
When will you know about the grant?
Well, we were hoping to know mid-October. I'm not sure that that's going to be the time frame or not. It's a little bit up in the air. So I would hope at the very least by the end of October.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Do you have any questions for the council?
I do not. I appreciate your support.
Well,
And I believe, Chuck, you've got my contact information, and so feel free to reach out if there's any questions, and I will get a draft franchise agreement in front of you.
okay, great.
Okay.
Any questions from the public? Well, thank you for joining us tonight and bringing us up to speed on where you're at, and we look forward
Absolutely.
to hearing more from you.
Great. Thank you so much. Look forward to working with you. Thank you for letting me attend. Have a great evening. May I excuse myself?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Bye-bye.
Okay, we'll move on to the 2023 F66 census report, and we'll, Karina and Emery probably have information to share on this.
So that form that you're looking at is required by the Department of Audit on an annual basis. And what it is just a control of our accounts to make sure that money's not disappearing. And if things don't check, why they don't check. They keep a running tally of our ending year balance, and then that's checked against our operations for the following. And they suggested we put it on. We didn't know at the time it should be formally approved by the town. We weren't aware of that until after the due date. So they just asked that we would put it on there and note that it was discussed. So do you have any questions about it? We did go over that before we submitted it with the firm that was doing our audit. They said everything looked about as good as we could, so we submitted it.
And we were within checks and balances of,
Yeah, there's some, a couple things on there that the computer program generated numbers that buggered us up a little bit, but we talked to him and got that straightened out.
good. So we're good for another year on this?
Yes.
All right. Any question for Emery or Karina on this? Okay, we'll move on to the reading of ordinance 868. Would you please read that by title, please?
That's 68, a revision of ordinance number 2.24.020, an ordinance of the town of Saratoga, Carbon County, Wyoming, revising chapter 2.24.020 of the town of Saratoga Municipal Code, regulating the composition of the recreation.
Okay. What this pertains to is the ordinance is open to the public to read. This pertains to WAM's recommendation that no council member set the board of any type. For everybody's knowledge, we're working on the other ordinances for the other boards. And she's going to send them to us as she gets them done. But the first one was the recreation board, and it basically come down to the council liaison is what they are. They're there to be a liaison provide information, but they will not be a voting member on the board. Any questions? The chair would entertain a motion to pass this ordinance on its first reading.
I'd make the motion.
I have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Can we make a note that there's a typo there? Typo.
Sure. We'll have to.
As amended.
Yes, we'll have to change the motion.
I'll
Mike, are you willing to redo your motion?
Yes.
Okay, would you please point out what?
Yeah, the composition of the recreation is spelled wrong.
Everybody get that? Mike, would you redo your motion
I would make the motion to pass this ordinance
as amended?
as amended. Yes.
I have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We'll move on to the police department. Mike spoke with me. He has nothing to report at this time. So we'll move on to the fire department. See, we have Fireman Nick Carey here.
Yes, Creed sent you the, on the main pumper. On the clearance rings, the clearance ring replacement deal. That's. Have all the.
Yeah.
Yep, we have the floats in front of us.
For $7,800. I guess I don't know how. You want to go about it, I guess. It's.
Just explain to us what, how it, they don't know exactly.
The pump still works, it just won't pass for ISO. So we can still run the truck until the guy gets it. At reduced capacity, basically. The wear rings is $7,828. And then he's got to inspect the impeller. They won't know that until they get it apart, and then the new impeller will be $4,200. But there's no additional labor on the impeller because he's already got it apart. And then we'll have to get it to, I think he's in Rock Springs.
So we know for sure that it's gonna be
7,800 for sure.
Okay,
The 4,200 is if the impeller's bad.
okay.
I know Walliser talked to Rutherford about, because we run it on county calls also, as far as getting a little bit of money out of it, as far as, but he hadn't heard back from him before I showed up.
Okay. So you guys need a decision from us tonight to
I-
move forward?
I don't know that we need a decision tonight. I would say we wait until we hear back from them as far as what they're willing to do.
Okay,
But it is gonna have to get fixed sooner rather than later. That's our main first out truck that,
did you guys, you know, if they allotted that much in your budget, cover that much maintenance?
I think, just going off what Creed emailed me, the equipment budget is off because we didn't get filled for a DIV last year, and it went onto this budget. So I think we can, there's money for capital equipment and supplies and vehicles. So I think we could move money around,
Okay,
just however we want to go about it.
well,
But I think we should see what the county's willing to do
okay,
before we. And then I think, it's gonna have to get fixed either way, so.
okay,
If that works for you guys. But as soon as Walliser hears back from Rutherford, I'll have him get hold of you, or
yeah, just let us, just keep us
Just keep me in the
posted on
loop,
what you're
yeah.
doing. We definitely want to get this truck
yeah, so that's our main first out truck that we take on.
Oh, is that,
That's the big 4-door.
okay,
Yeah. Any other questions on that? That's the only thing I know of as far as equipment.
As far as calls, we ran 9 since the last council meeting. For the first of the month, I guess, from last month. 6 of them were in town and 3 were out of town. 3 of them in town were either gas leaks or a dig in. 1 structure fire, 1 coroner assist, and 1 kind of tree traffic thing. And then the county was 1 search and 2 gas leaks. And we're down to training once a month. We have a business meeting once and then,
You do that in the winter.
yeah, from hunt season through the holidays, and then we'll go back to every week.
Council have any questions for the fire department? Thank you, sir.
Yep. you bet.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you guys. Thanks.
Okay, we'll move on to Department of Public Work. Or the, right.
So first 2 items, we've got some reimbursement requests from the Joint Powers Board. We didn't have any claims on the bolted tank demo. This is the last remaining balance they approved to pay it. It's $24.40 and that'll close that out. That's for the removal of the metal tank up there. And then I guess the first one is for Lisa's administrative advertising for that bolted tank. And then EA's engineering for some of the bolted tank. And then the larger sum at the bottom is this River Street water line replacement. So they've got a task order right now for about 70 and some change. And we're sitting somewhere around 60-70% design. And that's billing for some of that design work for EA engineers.
The water lines going down here into the hot pool too, or?
Yeah, so we're going down river and then taking that loop, refurbishing that loop there over by the swimming pool, and it'll go over. It's maple right below the ditch. It'll connect right through there. So right now, currently, there's nothing in the, so we moved that special purpose tax, kind of has its own spot in the ledger. There's nothing budgeted for this bigger project right at the moment for this design work. So we need to keep that in mind moving forward, that we're accruing expenses under that line item.
So in other words, we're gonna have to amend the budget,
Right.
come up with water and sewer when it comes time. So. And this was probably a little bit discussed before Emory come on board. They were looking at trying to get projects moving along, and this was after budget, and they kind of wanted to go forward with another water project since they had the money, and this one was basically done. So that's why it didn't get in sync with the budget. I mean, I guess you could say it was overlooked at the time. The tank demo wasn't.
But it's, then we're also, we're trying to do match funding with it too. I mean, there's this, yeah, we want to go after and get that water line replaced, but the exact kickoff date for that project is kind of still depending on what other funding may or may not show up. So we're kind of in the design and grant matching phase of the project.
Waiting on. So anyway, we will have to pay the engineer some out of that. And if that's what the part was overlooked in the budget. So. And I would entertain a motion to pay invoice number 9. Both of them. You have a total on those 2 invoices, Emory?
So 9-13 is $37.9205. And then 9-20 is $244.00.
Let's go with the first one. 9-13, the amount of $2,440 and how many cents?
9-13 is $30,792.
30,792. Okay. Do I have a motion to pay this invoice? engineering costs on, I guess it'd be the continuation of River Creek Water Project.
I'd make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll move on to invoice 920 2023 in the amount of $2,440. How much is the change?
Zero.
Oh, and this is for the final payment on the demolition of the water tank. Do I have a motion to approve this invoice?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
So moving on, we've had that streets department position posted for a bit now. We haven't had a ton of people apply. One person we have had interested, and me and John are interested in rolling this person over, is Kim Babbitt. She's currently working for us right now. Does a lot of the weed and pests. She's been helped the streets department a lot. She shows up, she's consistent, she does what we ask her to, she's willing to do anything that we ask her to do. And we'd like to continue with that consistency before we lose her at the end of the season and move her into the streets department full time. So if you guys are good with it, like
The same pay.
we'd move up to that
Our
17.
new structure and pay, which is $17 an hour, would move her up to that. But she'd be entitled to benefits because she'd be a full-time employee. And we are actually down one person in the street department now. They did an inter-transfer at one time. And Mitch is gonna retire in November, I believe is correct, so.
That's the timing works out really well for, we only have a little bit of overlap.
When's John retiring?
Pardon?
When's John
It
retiring?
says next August,
August.
it says, yeah.
And would she take on the responsibilities she had this summer when she helped out?
Yeah, we
Would
would,
just transition back seasonally
well,
somewhat?
it'd be more, she'd do a little bit of that and a little bit of streets. And then the streets department is, that name is such a misnomer because there's so many other things that they do with the parks and with all of the pool and the hot pool. And so really that the asphalt work is a smaller portion of what we call the streets department. So a couple days ago, they're over there squeegeeing the hot pool. Working over on sprinklers, like blowing sprinklers out this last couple of days, getting everything ready for winter. After it was blown out.
I'm just wondering, since she did such a great job this season, this summer season, if we can keep her in the same position next year.
Yeah, and we had some of, Jeremy, a lot of the guys mowed and worked on the weed and pest stuff. And then the pest side of things is pretty much primarily, we do a lot of prep work here, get the trucks ready, but those is kind of a separate group of guys. We had 3 or 4 that worked a couple hours in the evenings, and then one of our guys helped here and there when he wanted to.
And she was doing like the beds out here and
Yep.
watering plants and
Yep.
she just did a really good job.
She's a hard worker.
Yeah, she's very good.
Yeah,
And she shows up and does what we ask her to do, and she does a good job.
Right.
So before she finds something else to do.
I don't have a problem with it a bit.
Well, the chair would entertain a motion to move her into full-time position at the wage of $17 an hour with benefits.
I'll make that motion.
So I have a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
I'll do a quick little public works report and then I'll come back up.
yeah.
Okay. A couple things, the water, we got the VFD on well 4 fixed. That's up and going. All 5 wells are back up and kicking. So far, so good. We replaced the harness out there on the generator out at the well field under warranty as of right now. That thing's clicking and ticking. Couple things on the streets. So far this year, we've patched about 480 tons of asphalt, come in at about $64,000 out of those impact funds that we set aside for patching. With things getting colder, that'll probably wrap up the big patching, and then we'll continue to do potholes and stuff until it starts freezing. And then if we need to, we've got hot mix or winter mix to do stuff. And we get a problem hole in the winter time, Then Saratoga Lake, they're gonna test out there this week for that cyanide bacterial blooms. I just shot an email over there, so we'll have a better idea what those are probably next week. He said it takes a few days to get the results on that one. The guy doing a review on the floodplain maps, we got all of the data after everything was approved last time. He's digging through that. He should be up here sometime tomorrow. He wants to see a few things up here and take a look around and then he'll go back and compare some of that, with some of the data that he's seen. But I think we have no problem getting his findings by that October 11th. Yeah, he's looking right through it. And then we had a meeting, me, Kim, the mayor was there, Kathy with the rec and Lasco and Eugene, and kind of talked about a few things with the pool and the hot pool and some of the parks. And one of the things over at the pool is we talked about the wading pool and how we've had some issues with it. And we come up with probably looking into, we got some special purpose tax. Some of that was set aside to fix that and some of the decking. So I've got in touch with a guy out of Cheyenne that does work on those things. And when he comes back through, we're going to take a look at that and kind of see what our options were. I don't think continuing to try and patch it and whatnot is really going to fix it. So if instead of having to close it and try and fix it and open it and try and fix it, we just cut it out, jackhammer it out and get something, either a liner put in there or repair it in whatever fashion seems the most feasible or reasonable. So we're definitely working on that. More other stuff in there in the that report, but those are kind of a couple of the big things. I'm still looking into some of the impact funding, what our latitude is with the use of that. Finally got a hold of the Industrial Siding Council. Said, oh yeah, we'll get back to you, get you some answers. Well, that response turned into moving me over to the Attorney General's office, and they want to talk to our attorney about some definitions. So that's where we're at with that. Hopefully have some answers on that shortly. On feedback later.
Thanks, Henry. Any questions?
There's one. Did they ever fix the heater and stuff out
We
there?
talked about that today, and we got to get that knocked out.
It's still got a hole if you look from the inside out.
Yep, me and Chuck talked about getting. There was a guy who kind of was working on getting put in, and if we can't get him out there here relatively soon, we're gonna get somebody from here to get that fixed.
Yeah, because that's been going on for 1.5 years now.
Yeah, well, the guy that put the VFD in after he left, I just had him. I didn't know we had the heater here, but we'll get that knocked out.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Thank you. Okay, move on to reports from boards and commission, Community Center Joint Powers. And we have, before I turn it over to Kathy, we come up with an MOU, the Platte Valley Community Center Board approved it. It was written by Kylie Waldrop, the town attorney. And has everybody had a chance to go through it?
Roughly. And what's MOU stand for?
Memorandum of Understanding. And there's been one in place in the past, and it's just our agreement with them, the money we provide to them for assistance and how it's maintained.
And what are the changes?
I think we shortened up a little bit. The one change that they put in, that Kylie approved, was the town may fund a janitorial position to clean and maintain the areas utilized by the town's recreation department. That was a change they put in, and they approved, correct me if I'm wrong, 10,000 for that janitorial.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can add to it. And come up with assistance for her too. That was probably one of the biggest changes that went about. In fact, correct me if I'm wrong, there was not a signed agreement. It was more of a handshake deal in the past.
There was an agreement, it was just very generic and not a lot, there wasn't a lot of details in
Yeah, it
it.
didn't spell out the money and stuff like that. There,
And can't remember. So tonight, we just need approval from council to take it back to that board to get.
that board signed it.
It's signed.
Joe signed it. I
Okay.
have their
I just
signed
wanted to
copy.
make sure that
Yeah.
they've seen it first.
They did sign it.
We read it and sent it, so we just wanted to get
Yeah.
that final, okay.
So basically, it just needs the approval, so from the council, so I can assign it and myself and the clerk. They agreed to it.
So it's quarterly payments, $15,000 each. For $60,000.
In fact, they got behind last year. The prior council did, and we made up for it in one of our first meetings we went into.
So this is the last one we reviewed, so no changes.
No.
So that's great, okay.
No, this is the last one we
Okay,
did
cool.
there.
But I know that we did that over there. I'd make a motion for us to sign this updated MOU with Joint Power Board at BCC.
Do I have a second to this motion?
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay,
I have nothing else to report. We have our next meeting this coming Monday, the 9th at 4:30 at the community. center.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
We're back to the Water Sewer and Power Board.
We haven't had another meeting since our last, since this town meeting. One thing I would want to ask you guys, would you guys be interested if we could set it up, having kind of a one or two, maybe a year meetings with them? Having we got a lot of this crossover with like, we got special purpose tax funding going into projects. We have these big projects where we've got our roads involved, their system involved. Would you guys be willing to sit down and just to have some open dialogue with the board? If we could do that here in the next, few weeks, kind of talk about this big project, we've got, the EPA is working on possibly moving into some regulations with, they call them a PFAS. They're two very long words that are byproducts of manufacturing. They're also found in nature. There could be an opportunity for us to, get into or hop onto an ongoing kind of joint effort to secure some mitigation funds if this thing goes through and we're happen to make big additions to our treatment facility or something. That's something we could discuss together. Rates, billing, water quality. There's a lot of these things. I feel like if we had a budget things, we just could have a couple times a year where we sit down and talk over bigger issues, processes, goals. I think it'd be really beneficial it's hard for me to take everything everybody said and take it back over there and then everything everybody else said. So is that something if I could get set up, if they were interested in, you guys would be willing to do?
We do a
I think it'd be
workshop.
great.
Can we do it
Well,
like a workshop?
we'd
format?
advertise it actually as a meeting and hold it an hour before one of the
Yeah.
meetings.
Just
So if
open it
a
to the public.
if a decision had to be made, it could get
And we
made.
can have a quorum.
Yeah, we can have a quorum, they can have a quorum. And one of my suggestions was maybe an hour before start our council meeting at 5 instead of at 6, so we can meet with them. Personally, I think it's an excellent idea. There's been riff in the past between the boards and we don't want that. We can't get anything done if the boards are fighting. I think the more we communicate as a whole with the board, I think it'd be better off.
No more what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If nothing else, it's information.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's a good idea. I think we
Okay.
move forward with that.
And we still are working on getting something set up to get those wells built out of and reached quite a few communities, probably looks at video logging, bailing, casing inspection. Hopefully we get that done before the winter. So as soon as we get an idea of the price, we'll get a scope, probably work with Craig, get a scope drafted up, get a set, probably have to bid it out. It's probably gonna come out over the threshold, so we still are working on that. Then we got a meeting next week. I'll bring that up with them and let's see here in the near future if we could set up a meeting for that. And then like planning and zoning.
Yes, move right into it.
Okay, OB Consultants, who's doing that transportation alternate master plan, they're still working through people's input. And there's a handout here in the back. The big kicker on that one is we're gonna have a steering committee here the week of the 23rd towards the end of the month. We've got a group of people that they're reaching out to, were identified by the planning commission. And then we also had some people who were interested from the public meeting we had over there about a month ago who wanted to participate on that. So that'll be a good kickoff there here towards the end of the month. They salmonmoves.com is still up. Anybody wants to fill out a survey or comment. Saratoga Moves, McCall, thank you. Sorry, that is not accurate. Not at all.
Salmon, Idaho moves, but he moved here.
Yeah, who knows what that website looks like.
Kind of like Tiger Pod.
Exactly.
Then you guys will have a public hearing before the next meeting at 5:30 on the Octagon subdivision. Do that process, and working with Stocks and Kylie, getting the insurances that are required by the ordinance. They'll be in a draft form. They'll come alongside that application with the meeting to be looked at and approved or not approved or by you guys at that time. And we've about 66 building permits so far this year outside of fences and digs and whatnot for about 40K. So we're out on building permits. And then, one last thing on that Myrtle Street property. I talked to the attorney a little bit about it and we there would be some deed development. We'd have to do the RFPs and whatnot for that process to sell that property. Biggest thing, if we kind of talked about getting an appraisal would probably be the first step if it's something we'd be interested in doing, which those are variable right around a grand, depending on who we were to go with. So that's just something to ponder there. And as to, Jerry, you were asking about, long-term, we hold it, what's it worth? The thing with the properties, if we were in a situation, long-term, it can outperform, both markets. If it's prime, it'll beat the S&P and the NASDAQ. But if we were to need that money, it doesn't say we don't hit the bottom of the graph when we need it. So that's just kind of something to think about on that front. Any questions?
Concern? Okay.
Thanks, Emery.
Okay, I need to back up here. I skipped somebody again. We'll move back to the rec department.
It's just be a little louder.
Sorry, Kim, I apologize.
Just a couple of things to, I would like to go about hiring maybe 3 or 4 people for open gym. Can get some people in there before the upcoming basketball and volleyball seasons. I'm looking at $10 an hour. I'll reach out to like the high school counselors and FFA groups and 4-H and those groups as well to see if anybody needs volunteer hours. But with your approval, I'd like to start advertising for some open gym positions.
How many would you like? Or do you need?
3 to 4. I have 1 right now, but she's pretty heavily involved in volleyball and other activities. So there's often nights where I don't have anybody.
Okay.
So 3 or 4 would be ideal, I think.
How many? Oh, go ahead.
The way we've done it in the past, we've had 3 or 4 folks that do it and they just balance out same amount of time, 6 to 9, Monday through Thursday is what we're looking for. Open gym coverage, but then you've got substitutes and it kind of worked well in the
That
past.
was the way the past director operated. Yeah. Seemed to work pretty good.
I think so, from what I've gathered.
So I have no problem with going advertising it, but I would need it in form of a motion.
I'll make a motion. I know that we included it in our budget, so I'll make a motion to advertise for open gym supervisor.
Do I have
$10 an hour.
do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of upcoming events. We're still working with Fall Festival. It's scheduled for the 21st. We're just kind of partnering with Soapy.org and contributing volunteer hours as well as some supplies. So that's coming up on the 21st. Haunted House is scheduled for the 28th. Brianna Williams is kind of spearheading that. That'll be in both the small and the big gym on the 28th, which is Saturday. And out of order, but there's an eclipse on the 14th. I got together with the planetarium from University of Wyoming, and they've sent over 10,000 eclipse glasses. So each kid in the schools will get them. I'll work with delivering them to the schools probably this week. And then I'll take some to the libraries as well, some in town hall, and the rest will be at the rec center. So that's kind of a fun event coming up. And that's the end of my report.
does anybody have any questions for Kim?
You missed fall. It was yesterday.
I know.
On that, just a little bit to go along with the fall festival, I did speak with the fire department. And again, and we're going to close the entire street for the time of the festival to give them extra room. And that way we don't, fire department was good with it. They said, we got by Spring Street project, so we can get by with this, since it'll just be temporary. So that'll give them some extra room and make safety a lot better too.
Yeah, I got that map from memory and I forwarded that on to them as well. So they were appreciative of that. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks.
Okay,
That's me now, I think. Oh, we have lots of positive things said about the hike, the full moon hike. So I think we're planning that again. We had a couple of students come over from UW and had some cool information shared and had a good time. So keep an eye out. Expecting to have another. I'll move on to rec commission.
okay. We'll move on to the Recreation Commission.
We still have 2 positions, out of town folks, if folks are interested. We met last night. We're working on collectively reviewing a mission statement, and we prefer to use that terminology. So we're looking at maybe exploring ways to enhance that. The current commission purpose statement is purpose of the commission is to advise the council and assist the recreation director in the promotion of physical and mental well-being of all ages, enhance the beauty of the community, and through leisure time activities, increase the health, morale, safety, prosperity, and general welfare of the entire community. So there's nothing wrong with that, but we're just looking at ways to maybe be more specific or more concise on what that mission statement includes. We're working on developing or getting some information on some events coming up in this fall and into the winter and the spring, not in addition to some of our standard sports type activities. We're looking at arts and drama and music opportunities.
Cool.
We really need volunteers. So if you're a parent or if you know parents who are assisting with some of the sports opportunities, those flag football is in full swing, but we've got stuff coming up. So if you're interested, we're kicking around ways to train our volunteers, get people more equipped to feel comfortable stepping into those positions. So if you know your kids are going to participate and you're going to be there, or if you know someone who's interested, please get in contact with Kim.
I have a question. When's Pee Wee basketball start?
Oh, not until after the first of the year, I think.
Okay, so we got time to
Yeah.
get bombarded with as many as there was last year.
Yeah, we're talking a lot about planning better so that we can plan ahead, next season, the next activity coming up. So we're trying to get some good policies in place so that we can start supporting our rec director. So we're not as reactive in the future. Rec commission, the next meeting is November 6th, 6 o'clock here.
Okay. That it?
That's it.
All right, thanks Kathy. We'll move on to the Saratoga Airport Advisory Board. There's nothing to add there. Our next meeting is October 9th, 2023. Here at Town Hall at 3:30 PM. And we'll move on to South Central Wyoming Emergency Medical Services. Do you have anything tonight, Marie? Thank you. Is there any new business to be brought before the town? Yes, sir.
I have a question more than business. I don't make all the smaller, the board meetings. I don't make any of them. I come to this one. And the question I've got is, it's come to my understanding that no tape recordings are made of the meetings, especially when Water and Sewer decides to do a project. When the Planning Commission worked with this subdivision up here with the concerns over the paving and curb and gutter and all the problems that came up here at council. And also, there's a third one, but the airport board, when they do something major, those are as well as the rec board if necessary. Is it possible to get these meetings recorded in their entirety, like you record this meeting, and then it could be listened to by the public, by a reporter, or a copy could be made of it if we provide electronics for that?
I suppose, I would have to do some checking. I know they take minutes, like every meeting does. The minutes are for public review. As far as the recording, I would have to ask the attorney. They may have something, each one has their own bylaws. The Joint Powers Board has theirs, the Planning Commission has their, if it's something in there that they're not recorded, I don't know. I can do some research on that and get back to you, but there are minutes taken in all meetings.
I understand that, but, this is not an accusatory statement, it's just a statement of experience.
So everybody,
Oftentimes minutes are actions taken, a motion is made and it's passed, but I make a comment in that meeting and it's not even in the minutes. Because I didn't call for any action. It's only called action minutes or other terms used for it. And so what I want to know is if I'm in the meeting spouting off about something, I want to know that if I'm looking in on that, somebody like me, if I'm looking in on that and I want to go talk to that guy, then I know that it actually occurred. That's what I'm attempting to get at. And it would be helpful because then I could understand what happened to that problem, that concern that you had in a previous council meeting about whether or not the pavement was going to be done up in that project below the water towers and what action would be taken because of the issue with the bond, for example. Just that's an example. Or when a major water project is coming up or the airport is doing something major. That would be helpful without me having to attend meetings in which not much happens.
This is what I will do for you. I will look into it and I'll get you an answer by the following week.
Sure.
Before the next meeting.
That's all right, anytime.
We'll go from there. It's kind of left up to each board and the council, whether the boards want to. So it's definitely something we'll take before them and talk about.
The only comment I would make there is, and I accept your answer, except for the possibility of the Joint Powers Board, the landfill board, they're your boards.
They are. That is correct.
So therefore, couldn't you as a council, direct them
We
to do
could,
that for public information for.
we, and definitely so. But I want to hear the board's input back to me before I bring something to the council. I think every one of us set a board. I think they should be, you know, they can ask their board their feelings on it. And sure, I think I don't have a problem with it because it is public information.
I'm not asking for a quick response. I'm just asking for something to maybe move toward.
Okay,
Thank you.
definitely, we'll look into it.
But throw a lot more work on the people having to download it and do all this stuff to make sure it's
Well,
available.
that's a consideration, but in the past with Maria, if I missed a meeting, I brought her an electronic thing and she plugged it in and downloaded it in my lap.
And that's probably the way that this would be handled, because their minutes, you know, they don't go verbatim. That Councilwoman Beck said exactly this, Mayor Davis said exactly this. Councilman Flutie was totally against all this and he said this. You would get electronic version if they're recorded. That would be the only, yeah, we're not gonna set and type this out for everybody.
I simply, I bring in a stick and ask it to be recorded at their convenience when they've got time and come back by.
Totally understand where you're coming from. And we will look into it. By golly,
Thank you.
you got it. Any other matters to be brought before the town? Do I have a motion to adjourn this council meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.